failure is in the recipe of success. You can't have success without some sort of failure. That's where the lessons are learned. But the only way you can fail is if you quit. So just keep moving in a forward motion, and it's okay if some of those moments and seasons and times are a lot slower than others.
What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time, take back the power. What's your plan?
Hey guys, welcome back to the Rebel Show. I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. We did. We actually accomplished something huge that we will be talking about in today's episode. But in case you don't know who I am Bree Mesquit. I am the founder and CEO of Lash and Wax OC. And to my left, I have...
I'm Chance Mesquit. I'm her husband. I'm the co-founder and COO of Lash and Wax, Rebel Wax.
Yep. So today... Well, first, let's tell you a little bit about our weekend. So what's today? Monday. So on Saturday, so 2 days ago, we completed our first and potentially my last marathon. So how many miles is a marathon?
It's 26.2 miles.
We did 26.2.
And not just a marathon, it was a trail marathon.
Okay, so now we know that there's differences between different types of marathons. So you got trail, which I would say is probably the hardest, right?
And
I'm then
sure.
like road. I'm there might be more. We're not like marathon experts. So
yeah.
Why did we do a marathon? We were challenged by our business coach, Bedros. So he challenged us to this marathon when we did our last half-day coaching session with him. My throat, I'm sorry about my voice. I think I was inhaling a lot of dirt on the trail or something, and it's been a little smoky. But anyways, our last half-day coaching session, he challenged us to this. So as soon as we got to the airport, flying back home from that day, we looked up the closest one, and that made sense when it came to the dates and everything, and we signed up for it, not knowing that it was going to be pretty much the most difficult marathon that you could possibly sign up for. So once we were starting to prepare, we went to, it's called Foot Zone here in Bend, and we were talking to the women there. A lady was helping us out getting fitted for shoes and like all the gear and stuff that we needed. And when we told her which marathon we were doing, everyone looked at us like they knew something we didn't, but they didn't want to scare us.
Yeah,
right?
Well, everybody we talked to, people at the gym, just people asking what we've been up to. There's like, oh, well, I would have started with a half a marathon or a 5K and I was just like,
but you'll be okay.
Yeah, but you'll be okay.
Be fine.
So like everybody knew.
Why does it feel
I knew too. I knew it was going to be gnarly.
I know, but I don't.
26.2 miles. And that's what I kept telling you is like, I'm just taking it as like a mission. We just got to get it done.
Yeah.
Like what if we broke down 26.2 miles away from home and we needed to walk home and get home?
Yeah. Like, what are you going to do?
So I took it as that. Yeah. And then we started figuring out like the aid stations.
Yeah.
Like, and they're 3 miles apart, roughly 3 miles apart.
So breaking it down.
So we broke it down even more.
That kind of gets into our lesson. So what we wanted to do was kind of share with you guys while we were on the trail. We had 9 hours, to think about a lot of things. All my life decisions. So we were at 5,500 feet elevation, which that makes it really difficult because of the lack of oxygen. It was a trail run, like we said, so it was actually a mountain bike trail. So you're going over, there was lava rock, there was different types of dirt. It was like, there was that red dirt that's kind of gravelly and slippery, and then there was like almost like sand. There was like little berms and stuff because it was the mountain bike trail. So when you're running, it was just like really awkward to run on because ruts, and then there was like the whoop sections, and like it was so wild to be running on. It kind of was fun, but anyways, let's get into the lessons learned. So while we were on this run, I was just seeing a lot of parallels between completing our first marathon and embarking on a journey like that and a challenge like that, and comparing it to business and our entrepreneurship journey as well. So the first thing is your training program and prep. So building a business, how it relates to a marathon is that it is a marathon. It is not a sprint, okay? We're playing long game. And I feel like a lot of people really tend to focus on the short term and like wanting those gains like immediately. They want to see the results from their efforts immediately. But when it comes to business, it's definitely more of a marathon and less of a a sprint. Kind of the lesson I learned with this is with our marathon, we were following a training program. So it was a 6-week training program provided to us by Bedros. And he did this himself too. So he actually likes to do little mini 6-week challenges every so often. So this was one of the ones that he did. And then he provides it to everyone. Really, you guys can download it too if you'd like. We'll make sure to link in the description. But there's a training program with it, right? So we're following that. And I think it's also really important, especially within the beauty industry and waxing specifically, if your goal is to build a successful, profitable, long-standing business, you really got to get prepared. And I think the best way for us to prepare for that is building up your technical skills. I see a lot of girls coming straight out of school and wanting to jump straight into starting their own business, which there's always those gems, okay? There's always those exceptions to the rule. But if we really want to be setting ourselves up for success and long-term success, remember playing that long game, then you want to make sure that you're properly prepared. So for us, over the past year and a half, we've actually been focusing on our health and fitness, and we've both lost a significant amount of weight. I'm at 75 pounds. He's at 80. So that would be one aspect of our prep towards this marathon. It's not like we would have just jumped in to this marathon a year and a half ago.
Yeah, and that's why B didn't challenge us to it a year and a half ago too.
You're right. He did mention that because I guess he had it in mind. And then thank God, thank you, Bedros, for not giving us that challenge a year ago. I would have probably died. But yeah, just prepping and making sure that you are prepared. Okay, you're not always going to be fully prepared. There's going to be hurdles that come up and stuff, but we want to set ourselves up for success. So think more long-term, long game than short term and short gains, okay? Because then they don't last. Those short little gains, they feel good in the moment, but they don't last. So that was one of the lessons I learned is the importance of training and prep. Hey there, I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. For those of you who are already using and loving Rebel Wax in your treatment room, I wanted to provide you with the opportunity to save an additional 10% on top of the 10% we already give for our subscribe and save customers. If you would like to never worry about inventory issues again, then head to our website, lashandwaxoc.com. Use the code THEREBELSHOW, all one word, to save an additional 10% off for a total of 20% off your first subscribe and save. Now back to the show. So another thing I noticed was like the excitement at the beginning of the race. They had music playing, there's the countdown. Once it was time to start, they have the horn going off, the crowd's cheering. There was like tons of people there, everyone's family members and stuff cheering them on. And then we got off to, a pretty quick start. The pack, I feel like this pack though, because we were talking to my uncle Oscar and he was like giving us some tips and he's like, the pack will just take off. They didn't really take off. I feel like they knew to pace themselves.
But they eventually took off.
Well, in comparison to our.
Well, yeah.
Which is another point. It's like we can't compare our race to others, okay? It was easy to stand there at the starting line and look around. And I'm like, oh my gosh, look at these boys over here. There's like, they look like they might've been in high school and they literally were just wearing shorts, like no shirt, no water bottle with them, just shoes and shorts. And I'm like, bro, like what? I'm like packed, like I'm ready to survive out in the woods for like a night or two. Yeah. And these boys just have shorts and shoes. So it's easy to compare, like at the beginning of our business journey too, it's easy to compare. Oh, well, they have these resources. So they're already set up better than I am, or like they have XYZ and this is why they can succeed and I'm not. We all have our own resources and we're all starting from our own starting point, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But I just noticed that at the beginning, there's so much excitement. And that's the same thing with business. When we have our new idea and our new venture, we're so incredibly excited. And then that's my next point. It starts to wear off fairly quickly. We were excited. I was nervous.
Yeah.
I was really nervous.
I don't know if you were too excited about it because, a week before you weren't really thinking about it, and a couple of days ahead, then you started thinking about it, and the day of, you were over it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's because I did feel to a certain extent lack of preparation.
Yeah, no, for sure.
We did fall off our training program a bit, and
we fell off pretty hard, actually. Yeah.
So I just really didn't feel prepared, but I committed. The positive though is, and what I'm really proud of us for, is that we committed to the challenge and we did it.
We did it. Yeah.
So we finished it.
100%.
But huge lesson learned on preparation, not just for the physical stuff like this, but like even like doing this podcast, like actually taking the time to sit down and outline my thoughts and like just more prep. So if you guys can implement that into your business too, like prep for your next day, go through your client list. Okay, who do I have tomorrow? Look at your notes. If you're not utilizing customer notes on your booking app, you most definitely should. Like what you guys talked about last time. Write down little questions that you want to ask to follow up, like go deep with your current customers, like prepare for each day, and your customers feel that. So preparation is really, really important. Okay. Another thing that I noticed too, that's super similar, was the beginning can also be the hardest. So yes, there's the most excitement at the beginning, but it also was the hardest for me. So once we got started on the trail, like my breathing, I was huffing and I was pacing myself. I was not trying to run fast at all. It was super sandy, not sandy, but the dirt was just like very soft at the beginning. So I was like, oh my God, this is going to be tough. So my breathing, I'm like, couldn't catch my breath. I felt winded already.
And there was a slight incline too already right from the start.
So it was like there was already a hurdle at the very beginning. And oftentimes that happens in business too. It's like we're super excited and then we run into our first hurdle. And then we're like, oh my God, this is too hard. Like, I don't know if this is for me. And a lot of people give up so soon. I cannot tell you guys how many Facebook posts I see. I'll kind of browse through the beauty industry Facebook groups, and so many girls are complaining and they're saying, I've been in business for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and it's just not working out. I'm getting no clients. Like I've posted on my, well, how many times? 3 times. Okay. Well, it's volume. Like we got it. It's consistency. It's figuring out the plan and sticking to the plan, even when you're not seeing the results yet. So same thing with this marathon. I was already winded. It was already difficult, but we're sticking to the plan and we're sticking with just moving forward. And then you break through that, like that first, like, I don't know, for me, it was like 2-3 miles. And then I started getting into a rhythm and I felt better. I was able to catch my breath a little bit. I felt like I had a little bit more like knowledge on what was to come based on what we've already completed. And same thing with business. Like you have to build up those calluses really. And the only way to do that is by going through the hard things and by just hitting like those hurdles and obstacles head on, really.
There's no way miles, around. One by one.
Them. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
So that was another thing. So the beginning being the hardest, but then you guys will find your momentum. You'll find your flow, and it's ebbs and flows though. Okay. Which goes into my next thing is that I notice is like your speed will vary. So throughout this journey of 26.2 miles, at some points we were running and feeling really good. And it felt like we were gaining traction quickly and getting through I think 10 miles we did pretty well. Like we were coasting through pretty well. And same thing in business. There might be 2-3 months where you feel like you're moving quickly. You have fast growth and it just feels good. You feel like you're in a flow. And then all of a sudden lava rock can come up or freaking bees. There was a lot of bees on the trail, which freaked me out. Actually, it was a good thing because I hate bees. So it did make me run faster to get away from them. So that was good. But you can notice that in business. Sometimes we're walking. Sometimes we're crawling. Like no joke, at the end, I kind of was almost to that point of crawling. He made me a makeshift. I actually have, where is it? I have this little guy with me today. He's my friend, helping me get around my office. I might have a few stress fractures. Ooh, I said it right that time. First try. In my left foot. Anyways, what were we talking about? So the speed. Sometimes you're crawling, sometimes you're walking, sometimes you're running, sometimes like it feels good, sometimes it doesn't feel good. It's really painful. But the biggest thing is to keep moving in a forward direction. I don't care if you're falling in a forward direction, you're still in a forward direction. So one of my favorite sayings is fail forward. When you start looking more in the macro. So if you look over the past year of growth, like what's your average? Instead of, if you just looked at quarter one, maybe you had a really slow Q1, but then Q2 was like hyper speed, and then Q3 was like, whatever. And then, so you can see throughout the whole year, you made a lot of progress. But if you were just focusing on your daily forward motion, you might be like, oh my God, I'm getting nowhere. So that was another thing that I kind of noticed. All right. This one is so huge. Choosing your partner wisely, whether this is like in a romantic relationship, your husband, your wife, or business partner, like choose I call it my war partner, because I feel like Chance and I go to war every single day against each other. No, I'm just kidding. Well, sometimes. But in business, we're like conquering like obstacles and hurdles, going to war. Like seriously, that's what it feels like to me, at least. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was, we did this challenge together, so we're going to finish it together. And I felt like, I could have went further and faster, but I was going to make sure that you were going to be all right. So,
well, thank you.
And that's why I kept like stopping and then turning back. But then again, I was kind of using that as an excuse too, to like slow myself down. Like, I'm just like, dude, this is hard. It was a pretty hard thing. And so, where you fell short kind of helped me out too, to slow myself down. Like we just, helped each other out throughout the whole thing. It's like where I was slacking, you made up for, and then where you were slacking, I made up for. So exactly, just choosing your partner and where you guys could do that for each other.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, so I'm just thinking of like our industry. A lot of times I see girls not having the support of their husbands, because not everyone's going to be like us where, now we work full time together because we're building more of like the education and product side of things. But you guys that are client focused, like if your partner doesn't, or your spouse doesn't support you, it can be really, really hard to build a business without that support. So I just really encourage you guys, especially those of you who are not yet married, like please be careful on this and really make sure that you are choosing a partner and a spouse that's supportive of you and your goals, and that will do whatever it takes to help support that, whether they're physically working in your business or just like an emotional support. But I definitely could not have gotten through the marathon without Chance. That is for sure. And yeah, where I'm weak, he's strong, and vice versa.
Exactly.
But this was definitely a time for you to shine on being the strong one. I had many breakdown moments.
Yeah. Well, I was happy to be there for you.
On film. So maybe we'll actually show that. It's a little embarrassing. I was crying and screaming that I hate nature and I hate ants and I never want to see dirt or trees again, and I'm moving back to Orange County.
And at one point you hate me.
Yeah, I think I tried to throw a stick, but I just had no energy. Okay, it was annoying because every single time I felt like I was finally catching up to you, you'd look back and see that I was right there and start moving again.
Well, yeah, I was making sure you're good, so I keep going.
It was so annoying.
I don't know.
Because I wanted a snack, but
it was hard because, going through these lessons you've learned and stuff, it was like, because I was going through my own battles in my head and stuff. So, but like I was saying, like it was important for each other to like feed off that with one another.
Well, it kept me moving, because if you wouldn't one thing I've noticed about myself, and maybe other women will relate to this. When you're around, I turn into a big baby. Like I don't cry when he's not around, really rarely. And like, I don't know, when you're not around, I can pick up a freaking fridge over my head and just get done. Yeah. But when he's around, I lose all strength emotionally and physically. Yeah. I don't know why. So it's probably better that you didn't stop, because then I was like, now I have to catch up to him again. So it kept me moving forward. But then I finally like took my headphones off and screamed like, Chance, effing stop. I want a snack.
Gosh. And she had her own snack. She had her own stuff.
On the back. I couldn't reach it.
Oh my gosh.
I turned into a big baby.
And that was another thing. I kept going because then you had to walk up to me too. Yeah. You had to keep coming to me and then making you just like push those, those feet. Really, it was foot by foot.
You just had to keep moving forward. Yeah. That's so many miles that like
It was crazy. Yeah, that was gnarly. It was definitely a challenge for sure.
It was.
I'm looking forward to the next one. I want to do like down in San Diego though.
Yeah, okay.
Like
if we were at sea level.
Yeah, sea level.
And it was like flat terrain and asphalt and like freaking bands playing and stuff. Like,
oh, it's gonna have its own challenges for sure though. Yeah, but it's gonna be a different run. Yeah. Totally different run.
Oh, it'd be so different. Because I feel like we could focus a little bit more on like our pace and stuff instead of like just trying to get it done.
I remember at one point or another we're on top of this ridge line and I was like, and you were kind of freaking out and I'm like, Bree, just look around, look, like we're out here in God's country and just running, like this is awesome. You're like, this, I hate nature. Like, but no, it was awesome. But just to like tell you guys how intense it was, we were like running up, 2 ridge lines and then,
I
on
didn't
both
realize
sides.
That. Yeah. Because I didn't really like
look up and look around. I know. Because you got to just keep looking down to make sure.
You told me, you're like, we've ran all those ridges. I'm like, dude.
It was intense. It was pretty gnarly. It was up and down intense. The whole time. And I think the last like couple miles was 700-foot incline.
Yes. Okay. So to put that in perspective for those of you who are local to Bend, even if you're not, just look this up. Pilot Butte is 400 feet. And that's right here in town. And it's a butte a butte is like a volcano bubble.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So we have a lot of those here. They were new to me until I moved to Oregon. I thought, and then you're driving and Butte is spelled Butte. Gosh. So I always thought it was so funny. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at the butt. Yeah. But anyways, whatever. That's what a butte is. So look up Pilot Butte. It was double that. Yeah. And it was from mile 21 and a half to 23. So for like, what is that? Like 2 miles? Mm-hmm. I might be wrong on that. I feel like it was 2 or 2.5 miles. We're just straight up, you guys. At the end of it, when like,
oh yeah, blisters are popping on your feet, your back hurts, your legs, your knees want to give out, just like everything.
Yeah, it hurts. It's like a different level of pain.
Yeah. No, I mean, just to say, like in the world population, only 2% of people ever do a marathon. Or right, Oscar said
1% of global
1%.
Global population.
That's crazy.
So I feel very proud of that. And no one can take that away from us for the rest of our lives, even if we never do it again.
It was gnarly.
That
was crazy.
All right, we got to get back on track.
All right, back on track.
All right, so choosing your partner wisely. Now, the next one, which actually is really good leeway into what we were just talking about. Mindset growth is so crucial. There was a point where it wasn't the physical prep anymore. It was purely like will and just like the like inability to give up. Or not inability. What word am I looking for? Yeah, but inability means you can't. Like we could have. Unwillingness to give up. No, being stubborn.
Yeah. We couldn't. We couldn't give up.
Well, at that point too. Okay. You guys.
Well, we
literally couldn't because everyone left. The sweeper left, which was a guy on a bike riding with us the whole way because we were the back of the pack, so they call him the sweeper.
We were dead last.
The trucks came and picked up all the freaking signage and markers.
We weren't even dead last. We were hours last.
Yeah,
like it was
like
dead.
Okay, so we had until 1 p.m. and then they knew we were still out there and pushing through and like committed to finishing this. So they gave us till 2 p.m. So they kept the aid stations up an extra hour. The sweeper kept out there an extra hour. The finish line, all the people waiting for us. Like, we didn't even get a medal.
No, I don't.
Our kids gave us.
I didn't want one of those.
I wanted one.
I believe in
I want to hang it up on the wall. He doesn't believe in participation trophies.
Oh yeah, no.
It
was a trophy for myself just to get it done.
That was
the reward.
Not that. It was like a certificate of completion.
We got our
check out my free 6-week course that comes with a certificate of completion.
But that's different. That's not a participation medal.
Okay, whatever.
I like my number though. I'll keep that.
I feel like we're off track. What were we talking about? Mindset. Yeah. So incredibly important, you guys. Like if anything, and this is something that I started working on even before going solo. So when I had extra time at European Wax Center between my commute, so getting there, which was a 30-minute drive. So I had 1 hour every day right there that I committed to personal development, mindset growth, and business development. Like I would put, then I had like CDs that I put in my truck and listened to like Tony Robbins or Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Like I would listen to, their cassette tapes or their CDs. But that's an hour. And then in between my clients, so we weren't supposed to have our phone. So I would bring a book with me and I would always be, self-development or business or whatever. So I was really starting, even though I was in a job and stuff that wasn't like my ideal, I was still using it to work towards my future self and the future goals that I had. So it goes back to that playing the long game and not just short. So a lot of times I see girls talking about how annoyed they are at working at European Wax Center. The owners suck, the rules suck, the sales, the whatever. It's like, okay, sure, all those things could be true, but how are you going to use this to be part of your journey and propel you towards closer to your goal? So that's one of the ways that I did it, was I really worked on my mindset, and we're back to that again. The basics work, you guys. So like when we kind of felt like we were kind of falling off a bit, so we just got back to the basics of listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks, reading physical books, and like just getting back to growing ourselves mentally. And I had to use that really, really strongly between mile 10 and 17. Why those were my miles that were so difficult, I have no idea, but I really had to push myself mentally. So I started actually listening to David Goggins' book because he's like done some gnarly physical things. And I'm like, just needed to hear him like talking about his accomplishments, because then in comparison, like he ran an ultra marathon with like 2 broken feet and just like super crazy, out of this world. Like he's definitely in a league of his own. But just pull out your resources during those times and like that you have to push through mentally. And that was definitely it. Mile 10 through 17, and then the very last 2 miles those were the 2 that really got me.
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
I mean, there for a minute, because between 10 and 17, like you just said, I know you hit that wall and you're just like, I'm done. And then so I kind of was up ahead a little bit, and then I just see you start coming, and then, I needed to pace off you. And then so you started running. I'm like, holy like she just got some energy out of nowhere. And then
I was pissed. I was like, the only way to get through this is to just keep moving and move a little bit faster, and it will be done faster.
Yeah. And then we saw the next aid station, and we're just like, oh yes, and they had ibuprofen for you.
That was what really helped. Yeah, I didn't realize how much pain I was.
And after that, I mean, we went pretty far, and it was kind of hard to keep up with you there for a minute.
I put on what's that song you've been listening? Beast Mode.
Oh yeah.
Just on repeat, and I was just pissed running through. Talks about gorillas or something running through the jungle. So I'm like, I'm running through the jungle. I'm just gonna get through this. Yeah. Oh my! Or no, not gorilla. Godzilla. Yeah, Godzilla.
But no, it was good, and then you took off, and then we hit 20 miles, and then I think what tripped you up is what your watch kept telling you, that you're a mile ahead of what the markers were saying. So you were like, oh, okay, we're at 21. And then we hit 20. And then you say, what the
I was pissed. I was so pissed. Because that last couple miles was really tough. So, but that comes back to mindset. Yeah. It's so crazy how for you didn't bring headphones or anything. Mm-mm. So that's a huge mental battle.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole different podcast I could talk about, but I like to get into my head when I'm doing these physical challenges, because then that's like my war time is like physically and mentally. So like I just go all at it, like physically, and then going through these battles in my head mentally, whatever they can be, like conversations I've had, like just things in my life, and things that I just need to think through and process through my head while I'm going through some gnarly physical So it's good. That's how I like to roll out. That's how I like to do it. But
that's good. Yeah. And then there is a point where we shared headphones for a minute. Yeah. So you probably listened like 30 minutes of music. That's just crazy to me. Out of the 9 hours, I was either listening to music or listening to the audiobook when I needed that. There was a little bout that I really needed that, and then went back to music. And then I did turn it all off for a minute, and that's actually when I really started thinking about these lessons. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, running a marathon is so much like my business journey. Mm-hmm. And the last one for this one, and then we're going to have to make this a part 2, you guys. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but the terrain, okay? And this relates so much to business as well. So there's parts of our path that were rocky. There was parts that were straight vertical. There was parts where it was a downhill and we started gaining a lot of momentum. We're moving quickly. There was parts that had twigs or even straight up like fallen trees that someone before us obviously came through with a chainsaw and like made the path walkable, runnable, whatever. But it can be like that in business too. There's times when it feels easy. And I know I mentioned this earlier before too, but it's like it felt easy and you have momentum and you're moving quickly and reaching those goals and getting through those miles. And then there's other miles and times when the train's rocky and it's tough and there's obstacles and hurdles. And so just know it's not a matter of if, but when. And you guys really got to build those calluses and willingness to just not give up, keep moving forward, and know that those hard parts and those obstacles and those hurdles, that's where a lot of the lessons are learned, and the just endurance is built and the calluses are built, and it's reps. So just continuing to move forward and not quitting really would be, if you could take one thing away from this, it would be don't quit. Just keep moving forward towards your dreams, and they will eventually come to fruition. Just a lot of times people stop right before that breakthrough. So there's an illustration of two miners mining for gold, and one of them stops and he had this much more to break through and he was going to hit the pot of gold. And the other miner, he had a little bit further to go, but he just consistently kept going. And eventually he did reach the treasure. So you never know when your breakthrough's coming. It could be right around the corner and you're never going to get there if you quit. So don't quit. Bet on yourself. Do the work consistently. Do you have anything to add?
No, I don't know. I think you hit it pretty good.
All right. Well, thanks for spending some time with us today, you guys. If this provided any value, I would love for you to share, and also make sure to like, subscribe, all the YouTube things. Ow. All right. We'll see you guys back next time.